Filter FM.
And that's just the filter, no oscillator.
I was actually, the SVF doesn't self-oscillate by itself exactly, so I did have to induce it with a little bit of signal. Moving right along, ladder filter does self-oscillate, doesn't need any sound sources, makes a nice sine wave, or should do. Let's see. Oh. Pretty accurately. Let me see. Now that's one thing that we can always improve in calibration. Let's see here. Oh, it's because I'm in high pass mode. There we go. The ladder filter in high pass mode does not self-oscillate particularly. Or it does, but it doesn't do that thing. So yeah, if you go into each filter has its own independent key tracking parameter. So you can have them follow the key or not. Let's see, there appears to be some other stuff going on here, like this is my development prototype, so it has not been fully tweaked and calibrated. The short story is yes, the longer story is this one isn't perfect, but it can be adopted. Certainly, if you're not trying to use it as a sound source and you just want like the high notes to not be as bright as the low notes or something, that kind of gross level keyboard cracking, it's like trivially easy. Yeah, getting it musical, a little bit more challenging, but it's in there. Wow. All right.
Talk a little bit more about the implementation of the two filters. I'm mostly interested in the SPS, but the latter, you've got pole switching, I take it?
Yeah,
and
so
is there a high pass on it or not?
There is. Yeah, so it's Bob's ladder, it's a discrete transistor implementation, or it's using matched pairs.
And the SPS sounds like it's what I call a Jim Cooper implementation. It's got high pass, band pass, and low pass, and a 12 dB.
Notch.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you're using, from, I think my ears are hearing that you're doing it in, not Bob, Jim Cooper.
Yeah.
Where you're using the band pass for the feedback instead of the low pass for the feedback, like a Seth would do.
That's right.
Or I mean, like a Curtis would do.
Yeah.
And then when you stack the two in series, is it two independent 12s, or are you then changing the resonance path to go through the whole 24 dB?
I believe it goes through the whole 20. I believe that they're 24. It's 24 dB response when they're in series.
Okay, and so you've changed the resonance path to go through the whole 20. So
Yeah.
two independent 12s, but you are taking it from the band pass, and you don't have selectability over the high pass.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's see here. So, what all do I have on? Let's delete some more of that. The other thing I was going to say about the state variable filters is that you have a spacing control in between them, so they can be stacked on exactly the same frequency, or you can offset them slightly. Of course, you get the strongest resonant peak when they're at exactly the same frequency, but you get some nice vocal formanty kind of sounds when you've got two different resonant peaks that are tracking in parallel to each other.
There's no high pass, low pass blend like on the Seth.
There is not a continuous blend, it's switched. between between the different modes. So someone suggested that maybe that it's not actually state variable, that it's like selectable state, but I don't think that's what state variable means.
State variable is the whole suite.
Exactly.
It's the feedback path that makes
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah, but people who they're used to like a sim, they want a blend knob on that, and it is really cool. Like, we were actually there are more cool things that you could attach knobs to than we had room to put knobs on the panel, so we really had to pick our favorites. So not everything that maybe should have had a knob got a knob, because it was already knobtacular.
How many knobs does it have?
80 some maybe? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I could stand here and count them right quickly. It's a metric ton of knobs.
I was just wondering if that was some number that was in your head.
Right. No, it has been. There was some, I forget what, maybe I was putting on the knobs, or maybe I was calibrating the knobs. I was doing something and I had counted the knobs, and it was like in my head, and it was a while ago.
You played that Eric Percy sound before. I just wonder how much voicing has been done. Do you have other sort of finished or
Hundreds.
developed
Sure.
things that your favorites or just one?
Yeah, I have some
I know
favorites.
you have a lot to cover.
Oh well, sorta. I mean, we're through most of it, other than the envelopes and the arpeggiator and the sequencer.
Yeah.
What's that?
The effects.
And the effects. Yeah, there's effects. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We have all those things. All right, so let me.
delay when you were
What? Swirly string sound running through an ensemble chorus effects. So let's see here. Okay. Got some phasers. It is, yes. Yeah, not absolutely everything is clock syncable, but a lot of stuff is. So if sync is turned on, then, for example, on this time phaser effect, your delay time can be clock synced and your LFO rate can be clock synced. Let's make sure that this is also clock synced. So that was me just messing with a phaser delay that happened to be clock synced. Okay, there's a lot of fun delays in here. There's a basic regular delay, there's a stereo delay, ping pong, BBD emulation, tape delay emulation. So let's go for the, this is a ping pong. Oh, and that is also clock synced. So let's maybe speed up the tempo a little bit.
Is it one bus, one effects bus?
Oh, let me talk about the effects architecture right quickly. That's a great question. Okay, so the way the effects are set up in this instrument are you have a combination of insert effects and master effects, and bus effects. So each timbre, each of your 3 synth parts has one insert effect that's unique to that part, and that is an insert, meaning that if you're using a digital effect, and especially if it's something like a flanger or something like that, your whole signal does go through an A to D conversion at that point. It's the nature of an insert. And a lot of times that's fine. If it's not fine, you can send the signal directly out to an output. There are inserts. There's 4 send-return inserts that are programmably assignable on the back of the instrument. So if you want to run it through your Moog collection or something, you can use a Y cable and send an individual synth part to an individual send-return, send it through your outboard processing, and then mix it back into the mix. As far as the digital effects are concerned, as I said, there's one insert effect per part, and you have your choice of, about a dozen different effects types. And then there's a master effects bus, which is an analog send from each of your synth parts, has its own independent send level to the master bus. And so there are two physical send wires for each part to the master bus. And the way we have that configured is that you can have a true stereo effect on that master bus, and you get one true stereo send. Or if you want to send in mono, you can have 2 independent mono sends to 2 separate master effects. And those can be any of the same dozen or so effects that you can use as the inserts. You get to use the same ones on the master bus. And we also have about 5 different Eventide algorithms that, we partnered with Eventide. We got their black hole and shimmer and hall and room and plate reverbs that are available as the master bus effects on this. So they sound pretty nice. Let me see if I can come up with one here that is using, this is using a hall. You absolutely can. You can run audio into the external inputs, set up an effects configuration that you like, and just have it as a giant effects machine.
It's got an Eventide inside.
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got
How many channels of Eventide?
2, I guess you would say.
Two.
Yeah.
Two Eventides.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, that's not. Strictly speaking, that's not correct, because you can only run one of them at a time because they're so heavyweight in terms of the CPU. So you've got up to 3, 4 other effects that are non-Eventide, and at any one given time plus 1 Eventide. So, although as far as using it as an external effects box is concerned, you could set up one layer as an external effects box and still use other voices on another layer as a synth and send them out different outputs. There's a main stereo left and right output and a separate sub output in addition to the 4 direct outs on the inserts. So you can really set it up to be doing multiple things simultaneously. And all of that can be, essentially saved and recalled as presets. So you can have your external, actually you could have an external processing preset for, each of the eventies or for each way that you want to use them, and call those up and just, fly sounds. If you have it on a patch bay or something like that, or you have it hooked up to your DAW, you can just dedicate a send on your interface to those external inputs, and use it like a big analog plug out.
Could be anything.
That's this case.
It's the ghost of a snare drum.
Could be, yeah, basically.
So it sounds like you're saying that you could run one output, like if you're running mono, you could run one output from your synth and also be processing an external sound.
You can. You don't even need to run mono because there are two independent stereo output output buses. So you've got your main outs that could be your your synth sound, and then you've got a left and right sub output. It's a completely different.
And that could be processing something totally independent.
Yes. Yeah. You could set up one sound that's a synth sound that's only going out the mains, and a processed external sound that's only going out the sub outs, and they can coexist peacefully. See if I can pull up a few little kind of highlight sounds that I know I like.
Is that lime?
That's key lime. It's famous on the internet.
That's all that matters. No quarter.
What's that?
No quarter.
That's up.
That's it.
Yeah, this is sort of the piano-ish bang.
And the keyboard is velocity
It
and
is.
mono after touch.
Velocity, mono after touch. Yeah, that's what it has going on. So the sequencer can be set up to trigger on key press, and it can also transpose with the keys or not. I think in this case it is triggered, but it's not transposing. So any key that you press, the sequence is going to play, but you're free to play your own bass line or whatever.
So if it's layered with the transposing sound.
The slow staticky waves sound. Oops, switch around. Now I'm not listening to you.
That's switching between types and colors.
You know, I'm not 100% sure. I think so. Yep. Yeah, there's an LFO to the color mix. Exactly right.
I have a practical question.
Yeah.
There's two versions, right? There's an 8 voice and 16.
Correct.
So if I buy the 8, is there a way to migrate to the 16?
Well, honest answer is we're not sure yet. Technically speaking, yes, if that instrument was in the Asheville factory and a technician was to open it up and install, 4 more voice cards and tune it and calibrate it and button it back up and do all those things, yes, the only difference between an 8 and a 16 voice is the physical number of voice cards inside. Everything else you turn it on, it counts how many voices it has. It says, okay, I'm an 8 voice, I'm a 16 voice. But the logistics of accepting shipping back to Asheville from anywhere in the world, accepting responsibility for any damages and both directions of shipping, the cost, the labor, the fact that the same people that would be doing that have to be building and repairing all the stuff that we sell outside of any upgrade schemes. We're looking at the logistics. The main thing that we figured out is that the cost difference between buying an 8 voice and buying a 16 voice is less than it would cost to upgrade an 8 voice to a 16 voice.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, but there probably are people out there who, they're not going to have the 16 voices worth of money all in one chunk at one time, but they definitely would want to pay, $2K 5 years from now to upgrade or something like that.
Well, the market will tell you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm a little, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this is going to end up on YouTube, you're going to say something you're going to regret.
But you're saying it's possible, right? Not probable.
Right. As of now, we are not teasing that offer as being a real thing.
Right.
But, we'll figure it out.
It's not like RAM slots on a computer.
It's a little trickier than RAM
Yeah.
slots. Yes. There's definitely some major disassembly and reassembly required. Not to mention that, calibration of those voices, you got to calibrate the new voices to the old voices, et cetera, redo the whole thing. It's work, but it is, it's technically doable. It's not like they're incompatible with each other.
Question
Yes.
about connectivity. You have an Ethernet port and a couple of USB ports.
Yes.
Do the USB or Ethernet carry audio?
Not at this time. I would say that there is no absolute technical limitation from either of those things potentially happening.
So it's just MIDI at this point?
Yeah, right now there's a few different things going on. The USB, I think Type B is the square one.
Yeah.
The USB port that you would connect to your computer is basically MIDI. The Type A, the USB host port, you can do a lot of things with that. The number one thing is you can put a flash drive in there and import and export all of your data off of it, including there's a concept called user spaces, which is basically like save everything, all of your global settings, all your presets, all of your assignments, all of your routings, and you can save all that as one image that just goes onto your flash drive as a single file, and you can import that to any other Moog one, and it's just like using your synth. It's got all your stuff right where you left it.
Nice.
And yeah, it's like a SysX global dump, only it's way faster. It doesn't involve SysX. And it's just like, you can walk up to any synth with a thumb drive and be right at home with all of your same settings.
So when you load it in, is it going to, does it use the memory from the flash? In other words, it doesn't overwrite anything on the host?
No, you can have as many of these user spaces in parallel as you want and switch between them, and each one is its own little encapsulated environment. So that if you're in someone else's studio, or if someone's visiting you, or if you're renting a backline synth or something like that, you can just import your user space onto that synth, and it exists in parallel to anything that was there previously, and you just switch between them.
Right.
So yes.
Without overriding.
Correct. It doesn't overwrite anybody else's work, and if they switch back to their space, they can do whatever. It's not going to mess with your work. It's off. Often they're each isolated from each other, compartmentalized.
Does this mean that those spaces are like shareable on the internet?
Yes, it does mean that. You can absolutely export your whole entire user space, throw it online, and anybody could use it.
Wow. So the Ethernet?
Hmm?
The Ethernet?
Oh, the Ethernet. Yes. Many things will eventually be possible with the Ethernet. For now, basically, we've just been using it for development. Ultimately, I think it's probably not a stretch to say that the whole instrument is directly addressable via OSC, which you can speak over the network.
Dante?
Not Dante per se, because I think there's a licensing scheme associated with that. But for example, AVB is potentially an option. There's some IEEE equivalent to both of the above that is is free.
Yeah.
And all of those things are the hooks are all there. It's just a matter of development and figuring out what people are going to want. Some people get super excited about AVB. Other people are like, meh, whatever. Some people really wish we would put Dante on there. Again, it's proprietary, so that specific protocol is probably not going to happen. I've had this thing hooked up to my router and just shelled into it from my laptop across the room, and that was pretty cool. I felt like a real hacker. And that, although for security reasons, that is locked down in the official firmware. You can't just shell into it, because who knows what kind of mischief could be wrought. We'll see, but yeah, the option to wreak one's own mischief will probably be there in the future, I would say. Yes?
If I have my laptop up there with my DAW on it,
Mhm.
and I'm controlling it through MIDI, the tri-timbral thing needs three MIDI channel access.
You can have them all respond to the same MIDI channel, or you can set up a unique channel per synth.
Or do I get my sort of full range of
Absolutely.
that sound to do three sort of different sounds?
Absolutely, yeah. You can set it up right now where synth 1 is MIDI channel 1, synth 2 is channel 2, synth 3 is channel 3, or it's arbitrary. Pick any channels you want. But point being, yes, you can have it set up to where you've got tracks in your DAW that are addressing individual synth parts completely independently of each other.
What can the USB host currently recognize besides a flash drive? Wireless dongle, keyboard, any of that kind of stuff?
QWERTY keyboards, definitely, which is really nice. Not only are there hotkeys for all the different UI pages, but you can also, for naming and saving things, you can save notes, by the way, in addition to the preset names. There's a page of notes for every preset. You can also save notes along with, I've glossed over some of the deeper stuff. So I mentioned there was a mod matrix. The mod matrix can be up to 20 slots basically per layer. You can also save and load mod matrix presets. So you can set up some cool set of modulations that you really like, save it, independent of any preset, and then go to some other preset and load your favorite modulation settings and just chunk it in there. And those also have notes, so you can type notes describing what it's about. I didn't mention the snapshot concept. Snapshots are a really cool way of patch editing, where basically anytime you have a sound you like, there's a snapshot button on the panel, and you can press it, and it'll capture exactly what it sounds like at that moment, and save it within the preset. It's like nested, a nested album of presets within each preset. How deep? Forever, I think. I don't think we put an upper limit on it. I think we calculated that, one second, I think we calculated that there's maybe room for 10,000 or 20,000 presets, something like that. Yeah. Yes?
Can you do a crossfade between those snapshots?
Ooh, not yet. That's a really good idea.
That's
then.
I'm available for batch design whenever.
Awesome.
That's what the modal set has that.
That's
kind of
right,
thing on.
yeah.
It's really dope.
Mhm.
The one time I got to be in the presence of one was really dope. But I mean, that'd be really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Automation. Modulation, automation with
Yes,
the sequencer.
the sequencer can also record parameter values per step. So let me talk a little bit about the sequencer. I kind of haven't gotten into it yet. So the sequencer it's a step sequencer. It doesn't record the real timing of the notes that you play. It records per step. It's up to 64 steps. It's a polyphonic step sequencer, so you can record as many notes per step as you have hardware voices to play them. And so you have independent control over. All right, so that's really funny. All right, so I've made a sequence that may or may not be in tune with itself because I happen to be playing a noise pad. Wow. All right, let me see what happens when I do this. Alright, so that's a basic little sequence that I have going. It's not polyphonic. There it is.
Is that the delay chaser?
Sounds like it. Yes.
So that's
Still something modulating the sound.